would think what we're going to talk about today is relatively familiar. You hear it kind of all the time. Measurement. And unfortunately, I believe I've probably told you this before, and I'll tell you it again. Usually it's good to be a stubborn American living in the United States. But one problem we really have is our form of measurement, which for some reason we will never ever change, and I don't know why. We have what we're going to talk about on the left side here is what's called our United States customary system that we use. And I think we probably got it from England back in the days when, they came over and we had the King of England taxing us, and then we got upset with them, and blah, 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 blah. But you are probably familiar with these. What are our units of measurement in our customary system? Here we have the smallest one, John, is?
Millimeter?
No, that's not ours. That's the good system. We're talking about the bad system. Yeah, we have an inch. That's our smallest one. And the reason why it doesn't work real well is because an inch, by the way, is not that small. If you think about it, usually it's about the distance between the second and third knuckle on your pinky. That's about an inch, depending on how big or small you are. And then for some reason, somebody said if you put 12 of those inches together, you will get 1 foot. Which I guess, if you're thinking about it, probably back in the day, a foot was probably about the length of your foot. So most of us, when you get to be that age, if you could be about a size of 11 or 12 foot, you'll probably be right about there, which I guess made measuring easy because you could just step it all off. And then, I don't know why they decided this, but if you take 3 feet and put it together, what do you get?
A yard.
Now, I doubt whether these people's yards were that big, or that small. That is exactly what you get. You get 1 yard. No rhyme or reason why one is 12 and one is 3, but that it is. And then here's the best one. I want to know the guy that came up with this one. If you take 5,280 feet together, you get what we like to call a mile. I'm not sure where the connection on that is. That's what I'm saying. Why not just 10,000 feet, or why not 1,000 feet? Why did it have to be that? And also, you might as well write this down. 1,760 yards is also a mile. 1,760 yards is also a mile. So those are the things that we use. If somebody asks you how tall you are, we always, right now, you talk about being in feet and inches. You're what, 4 feet, 8 inches, or 5 feet, 1 inch, or whatever it is. How far is it to town? It's so many miles, or blah, 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 blah. But it's really hard to convert from one to the other. These are not easy numbers to work with, especially multiplying's not so bad, but when you got to divide by some of these numbers, it's like to try to divide something by 5,280. It's not a pleasant sort of situation there. Now, going over to the other side over here, the metric system, which is what every smart country in the world uses. I'm not even kidding on that. We have, the smallest one that we deal with is a millimeter. And we know that there are 10 millimeters that make up 1 centimeter, right? And there are, I don't think we go with decimeters, do we? No. We have 100 centimeters that equal what?
A meter.
1 meter. How many millimeters would it take to make up a meter? Anybody based on that? Ethan? 1,000 millimeters equals 1 meter. And then if you put 1,000 meters together, you get 1 kilometer, or a kilometer. as you might say. Now, how does the transition from one to another? For example, if you're in track, I believe now we run the 100-meter dash or the 100 whatever. It used to be back when I was a kid. It was like the 440 that was once around the track, but now it's 400 meters or whatever. How does a meter, if you have a meter on one side, how does it compare to a yard? Anybody know? How do meters and yards? They're very close, but one of them's a little longer than the other. Do you know what it is? Ethan?
The meter? Yep.
What did you say?
Meter?
That doesn't answer my question. How do they compare? I said.
Oh, I thought you said which one.
Maybe I did say which one was longer.
No.
This is a yard/meter stick. Which one's longer? You said meter. You are right. Here is a yard. 36 inches is a yard. 3 feet, 36 inches. This right here is, where my fingers are, is a yard. A meter is about 3 inches longer. Okay. A meter is about 3 inches longer than a yard. About 3 inches longer than a yard. So the question I have for you, would a football field, which is 100 yards, would it be more or less than 100 meters? Because someday, if we ever go to the metric system, we're going to have to change our football field, not to be in yards, but to be in meters. If it was 100 meters, would there be 100 yards, would that be more or less than 100 meters? Brady?
100 yards would be less.
Than 100 meters, right? Yeah, because a meter's longer, 3 inches longer. So you'd have to, how many inches longer would a football field be if it was in meters instead of yards?
Sir, 300.
Yeah, 300 inches, which would be, if we're doing the math in feet, that would be about what? 300 inches is how many feet? Come on, you math people.
9
About 20 feet or so longer. Be a little longer than that. And then the other one we should probably look at is, what about our longest measurements? When we measure distances to town, we use miles, but if you go over to Germany and France and all those places, they measure theirs in kilometers. How does a kilometer compare to a mile? How does a kilometer compare to a mile? Now, to help you with that maybe a little bit, you know, people talk about running their little races on the weekend, and a lot of times you hear them talk about a 5K, which is a 5-kilometer race. How many miles would a 5-kilometer race be? Would it be more or less than 5 miles? What would it be? Kevin, what do you think? Yeah, mile's quite a bit, actually substantially bigger than a kilometer. The book actually says a kilometer is about 3/5 of a mile. So here would be our gist. Let's say this line stands for our mile. 1 mile. If I were to take my mile, cut it into 5 pieces, let's see if I can do that. What do you think? 1, 2, 3. Yeah, it's probably not as good. A kilometer actually would only go this far. 3/5 of it. So if you're running 5 kilometers, that's about 3 miles. When you look at, I don't know, we doing any, the Olympics have anything in racing and anything, kilometers? Yeah, when they do their little snowshoe stuff, that's in kilometers, isn't it? They have to run so many. Yeah, how big is the short track? Does anybody know? The little guys that go around in a little fast ice skating circle there. Oh, let's see. So, write down this example. Let's talk about what happens if we see a problem like this on our homework. How many yards are in 1/4 of a mile? How many yards in 1/4 of a mile. Guess what your beloved, endeared math teacher is going to tell you should probably do on this, Leah? Hey, give yourself something to look at here. We're talking about a mile. If this is 1 mile, and you know in your notes that we're talking about yards, how many yards are in a mile? It says in your notes, so you don't have to memorize it. It is what, Sam?
1,700.
This mile is also 1,760 yards. They want to know how many yards would be in 1/4 of a mile. So what do you suppose you should do to this mile? Okay,
Cut it into 4.
yeah, cut it into fourths, which means you just go halves, fourths. So to figure out how far 1/4 of a mile is, what do you suppose I have to do to the yards? What do we say? What do you have to do? You have to cut it into fourths. So you're going to take 1760 divided by 4. Have we done this triple digit stuff? I think so. 440 yards in a quarter of a mile. In a quarter mile. Or 50 millimeters is how many centimeters? 50 millimeters is how many centimeters? Well, that you could look at your little ruler. If you have 50 of these millimeters, this is 50, you know that how many millimeters make up a centimeter? 10, so 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. How many centimeters is that, Ethan?
5.
5. It's always good to sketch yourself some sort of little picture. Plus, it works on your